Environmental issues hold back our economic growth. There is a cost to business in lost productivity from employees who call in sick because they're sick or because their child is sick. There are costs to small businesses that have to pay higher insurance premiums because their workers are at greater risk of chronic disease because of where they live or where their business is located. When environmental degradation keeps businesses from locating in a community, we become part of a cycle, the violence, drugs, crime cycle that means we're fighting the never-ending battles, not only for health protection, but for community protection and safety as well. I often ask communities when I'm trying to reach out to them about the importance of these issues, what have we taught our young people like my two teenage sons, to take pride in when they look around their communities and they see communities that are unclean and unhealthy and unsafe, but more importantly, adults who don't understand the importance of these issues to their future, to their development. Finally, we need you to stand with us on the aggressive health-based environmental items that, frankly, we put on our agenda. We have a pretty full plate. I just want to spend the last little bit of time I have with you talking to you about one of those issues. That's the importance of reforming chemical management in America. Everything from our cars to the cell phones we all have in our pockets are constructed with plastics and chemical additives. The technological revolution that my two sons take for granted has made those chemicals ubiquitous in our economy, but also in our products, as well as in our environment and in our bodies. The Environmental Working Group has provided some startling research that shows that our kids are getting steady infusions of industrial chemicals before we even give them solid food. Now, we know that some chemicals may be risk-free at the levels that we're exposed to. But as more and more chemicals are found in our bodies and our environment, the public is understandably anxious and confused. So we are stepping up to try to provide them assurance. I recently announced a core set of principles to guide changes to the 30-year-old Toxic Substances Control Act. It's called TSCA. And TSCA is the primary mechanism by which the federal government regulates chemicals that are used in commerce in this country. But TSCA's fallen behind. Not only has it fallen behind the industry it's supposed to regulate, it's proven itself to be a woefully inadequate tool for providing protection, that which it was designed to do. EPA's authority to require formal testing is limited and rife with so many bureaucratic obstacles that we cannot act, even in places where the law purportedly gives us authority to act. Since 1976, when TSCA became the law of the land, EPA has issued regulations to control 5 chemicals. 5 chemicals out of the 80,000 chemicals that are presently existing and potentially in use in our economy. In 1989, 13 years after TSCA passed, a court overturned EPA's rules on asbestos because despite clear evidence of risk, the rules failed to clear the administrative burdens that TSCA set up to authorize action. Ladies and gentlemen, we know far too little about the chemicals that are coming into the marketplace and on the market already. And as states and other nations take action, manufacturers have far too little certainty on what the regulatory landscape will look at. So now we're stifling economic growth and potential there as well. We've stifled the ability for a green chemicals marketplace to grow because we aren't able to regulate towards and around those issues. Now, Senator Lautenberg, Chairman Henry Waxman, Senator Boxer, Congressman Bobby Rush have all recognized that TSCA needs to be updated and strengthened. They're working with us, and we're actually working with them on those reforms, and I should add, they are looking to advocates in the public health community to work with them on this fight. To make sure EPA has the tools we need, I have established 6 principles to guide reform. First, we need to review all chemicals, existing and new, against safety standards that are based only on considerations of risk. I can always tell who the TSCA folks are because they know how important that single principle is. Thank you. Second, The safety standards cannot be applied without adequate information. And the responsibility for providing that information cannot lie with EPA. It has to lie with industry. Manufacturers must develop and submit the data on new and existing chemicals. The onus should be on them to prove that those chemicals are safe. And if industry doesn't provide that information, the federal government, EPA, needs the authority to quickly and efficiently require testing, require the information needed without delays and procedural activities in court that can tie up just getting the information for years and years. Third, both the federal government, EPA, and industry must include special consideration for vulnerable groups, particularly children. As you know, children ingest chemicals at a higher ratio to their body weight than adults. They're more susceptible to long-term damage and to developmental problems. Fourth, when chemicals fall short of the safety standard, EPA must have clear authority to take action. Now, we need some flexibility to consider a range of factors, but it must be ability that will be exercised quickly. In all cases, EPA and manufacturers must act on the priority chemicals that we jointly identify in a timely manner with firm deadlines to maintain accountability and to build the public's trust that there really is a system in place that works in a timely manner to assure safety for chemicals. Fifth, we must encourage innovation in green chemistry and support research, education, recognition, and other strategies that will lead us down the road to safer and more sustainable chemicals and processes. All of this must happen with the utmost transparency and concern for the public's right to know. And finally, we need to make sure that EPA safety assessments are properly resourced, with industry contributing its fair share to the cost of implementing new requirements. And there I must acknowledge that industry recognizes that as well. In closing, let me just say that TSCA reform is just one of the items on our list at EPA. There are great debates going on right now about public health and the environment. As leaders on these issues, we have an opportunity to shape the debates and the future of these issues. My challenge to you today is to join me and join us at EPA in opening this conversation. Please help us to make clear to all Americans that when we announced our Clean Car program to raise vehicle efficiency standards and to measure carbon dioxide pollution from vehicle greenhouse gas emissions and to control them, that was more than just an environmental announcement. It also means less harmful pollution in the skies. It means less pollution that sends people to hospital with asthma, heart disease, and a number of other conditions. Help us send the message that when public health officials talk about expanding the range of disease vectors or the migration of Lyme disease or malaria into new areas, it's a public health issue, but it's also a climate change issue. Help us do a better job of bringing our work together to lead off a number of public health challenges before they happen. Environmentalism, my friends, can be an ounce of prevention that can make a huge difference in our nation's public health efforts. We can make that happen if we draw a clearer line for people between those two critical issues, if we broaden the conversation not only on environmentalism, but also on public health. I'm glad to be a part of that process. I pledge to you that I'm happy to carry the public health message wherever and whenever I can. I look forward to working with you on these issues in the years ahead. I wish you a wonderful conference. Thank you so much.